Hello, my name's Linda Martin, and today I'm going to show you how to make the little tiny violets that I have on my goose egg here. This is a little hanging decoration which is so very simple to make. So we'll start off by looking at the paste that we're going to be using for these, and I like to use the Nicron Porcelain Fria, which is extremely soft and beautiful to work with, so you don't need really sort of strong fingers in order to knead this. And as well as the paste, obviously we're going to need some cutters. So let's just pop this to one side and we'll have a look at the other items. So we have the little violet leaf and flower cutter. Again, these are items that we carry. We'll also need some stamens, and these are little tiny pale lemon flower stamens. You need one per flower. In order to get the veining on the leaf, we have a little veiner pad, and this one is the best one to use, this side, for the violet. The veining is just about the right sort of size and shape. In addition, we have obviously pre-coloured paste. Now, I've used ordinary paints, just acrylic paints, to colour these, and with these, this particular cold porcelain paste, you need to pre-colour with a matte white paint or even an oil paint, although oils get a little bit messy. I just use my ordinary Duncan's white acrylic that I use for my eggs. So you pre-colour first of all with white, you work that all the way through the paste, and then you add your colour afterwards. So again, whichever paints you prefer to use to get the right shade. So I've worked in, you can see how nice and soft that is now, I've worked in the lilac, and I've got ready the lemon so that I can show you how I achieve a very pretty shade of green. Just adding green straight onto the white paste doesn't really look that good. Incidentally, the reason that you add the white is that allows all of the colour that you add to it afterwards to permeate right the way through the paste. So you do get a nice finish once it's done. You get that solid look of colour, whereas if you didn't put the white in, you get a slightly wishy-washy, not terribly nice finish. So always pre-colour with the white. In addition to that, we have my usual, I'm sorry about this, but you know I have to use it, silk ribbon, 4mm silk ribbon, and I usually put a couple of shades together when I work with them. Once you've made your flowers, you can tint them with powders, and here we have a slightly deeper lilac colour and then the slightly darker green that will show up in contrast and take on the veining more once you've applied this to your finished flower. And another thing that I seem to be using constantly, just as a background really to the flowers, these lovely little beaded sprays. Very pretty, but they do give you the effect of something like gypsophila at the back of a floral arrangement. So I think that's about all. What I'll do now is I'll just quickly pre-colour and add some green to this paste. Obviously there's some tools involved as well, so I've got a little rolling pin, I have a balling tool which will help me to shape my flowers. But if you don't have these, you can use all sorts of things like, lemon hasn't worked through fully yet. You can use the casing from a biro, even if it's, you know, a felt pen, something like that, providing it doesn't have any lettering on it that's going to emboss the paste when you work with it, you're absolutely fine. Also, it's very important, once you've mixed your paste, let's just knead this through a little bit more. Once you've mixed your paste, what you need to do is keep it in an airtight bag. Don't put it in the refrigerator because you may find that you get a build-up of condensation. Let's just get that lemon worked through properly, and then I can just use a tiny touch of, I'm using Duncan's olive moss for this one. Let's just give that a tiny squeeze. Don't want to go too mad with it. do want to get some sort of colouring. There we go. It's starting to work through. I did mix up this paste a few weeks ago, so it's a little bit stiffer than if it were to have come out straight out of the packet, but it's still really soft to work with. And as you can see, it takes a little bit of working through. Let's put some more green on. That's it. Let's see how that works. If you find that you put too much into it, you can always either add some more of the lemon paste. This is the bit where I get myself all messy. But to be fair, hands will wash, so I'm not too worried. As you add things to the paste, you'll find as well that it does tend to dry out a little bit more quickly. And if you're working with it a lot, kneading with your fingers, it sort of warms up a bit more and can dry out a little bit more quickly. So quite often what I'll do is I'll have a sheet of polythene or something at the side of me so that I can actually put the paste under that prior to actually working with it a second time. There, you can see that's now working through beautifully. And the colour's good as well. That's not too dark. I can emphasise the green with the powder afterwards, but I think that as a base for the leaf colour is really quite good. So I'm going to pop that now into a polythene bag. Just keep that safe, and before I start messing about with any violet coloured paste, I think it might be an idea to give my fingers a wipe. So let's just get the wet wipes out and just get that off. That's coming off nice and easy. Okay. If you're really worried about getting your hands dirty, I know some people will put on disposable gloves to do stuff like this. It's not something that I like to do. I just get messy and then clean up afterwards. Okay, so let's find the paste. So this is my lilac, and what I'll do is just pull off a small amount. I'm not going to be working with too much at the moment. And just seal that bag, squeeze the air out, and then just give that a little bit of a roll between my fingers, and that's lovely. Right, now then, rolling pin. So what I'm going to do is try and get this as thin as I can. The finer you get this, the nicer your flower is going to look. If you find that when you're working this will stick to a board or stick to the rolling pin, you can actually use a tiny bit of corn flour. And what's suggested is that you get a cotton handkerchief and you just tip some corn flour in, tie something round it so you've got a little pouch of corn flour and a little cushion of it, and then you can just dab it onto your paste, and that just deposits a very, very fine coating of the corn flour onto it. So I've got that nice and thin at this end. I'm not too worried about that end. That will roll out again. So I'm going to just very quickly press down with my flower shape. And that's stuck inside. So just give that a little push. And there's my lovely little flower shape. So let's move that other paste out of the way. I'll pop that somewhere safe. Now then, little ball end tool here. So what I'm going to do is pop that into the palm of my hand, and working on the wrong side of the flower, I'm just going to roll my tool around the edge of the petals in turn, just to spread them out a little bit and make them a little bit more of a cup shape. There we go. You can see already this is starting to take shape. Let's turn that a little bit more. Whoops. There we are. Let's move that around. Very, very simple to do this. It really is. And if you don't have a balling tool, just use the end of a paintbrush. That's usually rounded and will work just as fine. Right, so that's all of my little petal shapes. I'm going to just flip that over onto the right side and press downwards like so. Take half of my stamen, which I've already chopped in half. These are double-ended stamens. You've probably seen them before. I'm just going to pop that into the middle of the flower, and then as I slide that up towards the stamen, I'm going to just nip that between my fingers to pinch it in position at the back of the flower. Now, obviously that doesn't really look the right sort of configuration for the petals, so then what I do is I tilt the two petals that are more rounded, I tilt those upwards, whoops, like so. Again, give it a good pinch at the back so that the stamen doesn't fall through, and then just move those down, just tilting them very, very slightly, like so, so that those two rounded petals at this top end, let's just show you again with the cutter. So it's these two here that actually stick upwards at the back of the flower, and then the others are the two side petals are more horizontal, and then these two hang downwards. So that's actually the flower. That's it. That's all you've got to do. And then let's just find my powder. I should really leave this to dry first. When you're using the powders, give them a good tap just to make sure that the powder doesn't stick in the top of the lid and send itself everywhere. These are also the powders that I used for the mock enamelling, if you've watched that video. And then I'll just take a tiny little bit of the powder, and what I would do is just very gently dust the petals. You could even, if you wanted to, just do tiny little streaks, just moisten it a little bit and do little tiny streaks. Let's have a look at the finished one again. Yeah, so looking at this one, there we are. You can see what I've done there. So that's your actual flower. And let's move the powder out of the way. We'll make a leaf next. Now the violet shaped leaf is quite a pretty shape. Let's just move that powder. And it's got these lovely sort of scalloped edges. So let's find the green that we worked with earlier. And again, just give that a little knead. There we are. Let's find my rolling pen. If you find that the paint hasn't really gone through evenly, what you can do is just roll it out like this and then fold it over again and roll it back on itself, and that will also help to disperse the paint. But I think we're okay with that. So again, we'll take our cutter and just pop that in position. I've got quite a good selection of these cutters now. Let's pop that under, pop the rest of the paste safe so it doesn't start to dry out too quickly. And then we can come back. Now, I mentioned, where is it, little veiner pad. So what we'll do is we'll very carefully Now there's two ways of doing this. We can either do it this way by pressing the finished leaf down onto the veinner pad, and there you can see you've got some of the veining, but actually the better way of doing it so that everything is positioned properly, let's find the bit where I rolled it out again. This is probably the better way of doing it. Take the veinner pad and then just press down firmly with your paste, like so. So now you've got the little veining area, and then you can line up your cutter with the veining so that you've got the tip of the veining hitting the tip of the cutter, and just pop that through like so. Oops, where are we? And then what I usually do is I just pinch along that centre vein line, and that's usually enough. There. So I've just got that tiny little bit of shaping just by pinching. Let's turn it over at the back. You can just see that tiny little area there where it's been pinched a little bit just to shape. And then again, let's use some of the green, a darker green powder. Actually, you can see the difference between what I did initially and the one I missed very slightly with, and got the edge of the cutter here, or the edge of the veinner pad, so that one is scrap. Okay, so if you're going to do this, just do what I did with the second one. Do the veining first. If you don't have a veiner, what you can do is nip outside into the garden, if you're lucky enough to have one, and pick a leaf. This is brilliant for rose leaves as well. Just go and pick a leaf and then press that into your paste and then use your cutter, and you'll get some nice veining that way. And then just gently, very gently, a little bit of the green. And there you have the veining emphasised. Now what you can do with this to set the powder, you can actually hold this in, you have to be doing it carefully obviously, but hold this with something like a pair of tweezers in the steam from a kettle, from a boiling kettle, and that sets the powder. But if you're doing it on your exit, I don't think there's really any need to do that. So once we've got the little violets and the leaves all made, they don't take that long to dry out either. You know, if you've worked your paste thinly enough, they won't take any time really. So what I tend to do is I make several in one go, and then, as I said to you before, you can just put some of the little beaded sprays, let's just fold that a wee bit, otherwise it'll go everywhere. Put that behind, and there's your little violet flower, and then you can just tuck your leaf behind that. And then what I like to do as well is do a cluster. I usually do odd numbers, and this is a floral art thing, you do odd numbers of flowers and it always looks better. So what I tend to do is I do 3 flowers, 3 leaves when I'm doing this particular egg. And as you can see, I've just tied a double bow with around all of the wires and the stems, and then I twirl the ends as well. I'm sure you all know how to do that, but let's just very, very quickly show you this. So we've got 2 lengths of ribbon. We'll just do it because I can't really work with a flower that's still a bit on the soft side, so we'll just do it very quickly. Let's push that to the back with the 2 beaded sprays. So I would wrap that around, just tie a little knot just to secure everything. Incidentally, if you find that your stamen is starting to come away once the paste has dried, tiny touch of the thick tacky glue is brilliant for holding everything in place. So let's just tie the bow. There we go. Make sure you grab both colours. Make that a lot smaller, like so. And then, where's my scissors gone? Oops, let's find the pair that cuts. That's better. There. And then all you do, and I constantly do this with my ribbons, I think it looks so much nicer than just straight tails hanging down, is you basically hold that knot tight in case it pulls away from the bow. Just literally pull over the scissor blade. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't want to. And always angle the ends as well, and that stops the fraying. So let's just very quickly do that end. There we are. So you've then got a neat little bow. Let's just pop that against there just to give you an idea. There we are. Okay, very simple, and just such a lovely, it's one of my favourite flowers, what can I say? I love violets. I quite often will team this up as well with the Sonny Ames Violets print, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. So that's an idea for you. You can set this against a filigree and put that on top of your egg, but just look at, isn't that pretty? I like it anyway. So hopefully you'll have a go with this. As I say, don't forget, keep your paste tightly wrapped, otherwise it will dry out and you won't be able to use it. But you'll find that working with this particular paste is an absolute dream, and so much easier on your fingers than working with another product that requires baking. Okay, thanks very much for watching. Let's just bring this one in shot again. And you might decide that you want to try doing some different flowers as well. I've done all sorts. I've done daisies and primroses and all kinds of things on these particular eggs, and they've really been very successful in terms of sales. So there we are, another idea for you for your eggs. Okay, if you want to find out any more information about the cutters or anything else that we've got, the website address is www.lindamartineggdesigns.com, and you'll find all sorts of information on there. Also with the magazines that I write quarterly, The Art of the Eggshell, you'll find that some of those issues have actually got step-by-step instructions for doing different flowers as well. So let's see some more little flowers on your eggs, and hopefully you'll send me some photos of them as well. Be nice to see them. Okay, thanks again. Take care. Bye.